Hello everyone, David here. This is a video I've wanted to make for a while. It's basically about my favourite trick rock guitar sounds you can make with this incredible instrument. I would say that none of these are good substitutes for playing something actually melodic or musical, but you know, they sort of have their time and place just when you need to make some noise on your guitar and make something sound kind of cool and exciting. And stick around for the end of the video because I'm going to play a solo that uses all of these tricks in one place. Okay, let's go! Okay, let's get started. There are some quite simple tricks that I think every rock guitarist should know how to make. The first being the very humble pick slide. Just take the side of your pick, scrape it down the strings. You do sort of start wearing through the picks pretty quickly, so use it relatively sparingly. Also, you should know about your artificial and natural harmonics. So, artificial harmonics being the ones where you really kind of dig in with the picking hand. And natural harmonics being the ones where you touch the string with your fretting hand without pushing the string down and then pluck it. And these go all the way right up the string, although they get harder to produce when you get up here. So. And that's really useful. And if you have a tremolo, you should know about dive bombs. And maybe making that sort of like screeching horse noise into a dive bomb. So cliche, so 80s, but kind of fun as well. And I think you should probably know how to make it, although really I would warn you against overusing it. The first trick I want to talk about as one of my favourites today is called tapped harmonics. And these actually follow the same technique as natural harmonics. The only difference being that instead of having an open string, you actually fret a note with your left hand and then tap the natural harmonic position with your right hand. So if you fret the second fret, for example, that moves all of the harmonics up by 2. So you've got 14th, 9th, 7th, 6th, and then some more as you go up the string. But they get harder to reproduce. And I don't know if Eddie Van Halen invented this or not, but he certainly popularized it on one of the early Van Halen albums. Very cool and very innovative for the time. The second trick I want to talk about is called palm mute harmonics. And this goes by the principle that if you mute a string with your palm, but then actually run your palm down the strings as you keep pulling off lots and lots of notes with your left hand, you can then trigger lots of artificial harmonics along the way. I find it tends to make quite a lot of noise when I use my actual palm running across the string, so I just use a finger and try and mute all of the other strings that I'm not doing all my pull-offs with as much as I can. The key to making this sound most effective is to really pull off as hard as you can with the left hand so that the notes have got as much vibration as possible. Okay, next I want to talk about pick tapping. It's a very Joe Satriani thing to do. I've seen him do it live several times. I haven't seen many other guitarists do it live, so perhaps he invented it, I'm not entirely sure. But for this trick or sound, you take the side of your plectrum, so one of the longer edges, and then tap on to a note that you fretted with the fretting hand. So pluck a note and then tap on with the pick. And of course you can do that very, very, very quickly, because you can move the pick up and down very, very quickly on top of the fretboard, or at least I've found it a much easier way to play lots of notes very fast. And of course you can move that pattern up or down, or combine it with other tapping as well. So Joe Satriani does actually move it up and down. So you can have some fun with that and try and experiment. Okay, next on my list is the Harmonic Whoosh. And there's lots of ways to make sort of screeching noises with harmonics. This is my favourite, partly because it's the least cliche of the lot, and also it sounds like quite otherworldly and alien and cool. It sounds like this. And it basically works by using natural harmonics. So what would be the equivalent of harmonics at about the 4th fret, I play up here at about the 16th. Yeah, it sounds pretty horrible just on its own. But the idea is you push down your tremolo quite far, then strike the harmonics, and then allow them to rise up. So you get this sound of several harmonics across several strings, all coming up at different rates, and it has this kind of cool swell sound to it. Of course, you can do it lower on the fretboard if you want as well. But I find you can actually sort of really milk that sound. And get something that's quite exciting. And I have to admit, I use this one quite a lot. I love it. Okay, a couple of good tricks for people who have a fixed bridge like I used to. I really wanted to emulate that tremolo, like the floating trem, Floyd Rose style sound. And I was looking for ways to do this, and this is one of those ways. So the first is called bended taps, and it's basically where you bend a note and then tap on with the other hand. So instead of just tapping on, you bend and then tap on afterwards. And of course you can then release that note and it sounds like you're pushing down on a whammy bar. So this kind of sound you can emulate by pre-bending the note and then tapping on and releasing it. And yeah, it's really cool. And you can also bend it up if you want. So if you started with the note, you can tap and bend up and it sort of sounds like you're pulling up on a whammy bar. The interesting thing is you can tap and then replace the note that you have underneath it. So if you bend up, tap, you can then release it and it bends down again. And then pull off to your other hand. And then of course you can repeat the whole procedure. So you can go up the neck and get this weird sound of jumping up lots of notes in one go. Try and figure out where you are in your scales so that you're not just picking random notes. But if you do that properly, you get this really sort of alien sounding Steve Vai-like sound, and I think it's really cool. Next I want to talk about sliding taps, and for me this is a very kind of Richie Sambora, Bon Jovi kind of sound. It's where you play like something like a trill, lots of fast hammer-ons and pull-offs, and then you add a tap which slides up the neck with your right hand. It sounds very exciting, sounds very weird, kind of difficult to figure out what's going on, and you can do that over multiple strings as well, so you can go. It's pretty neat, isn't it? And you can also slide the left hand if you want. Another quite Steve Vai kind of sounding trick is the massive tremolo. So you will need a tremolo arm for this, which is where you pick a note and then just give it loads and loads of vibrato. So pull up and down on the tremolo a lot, and then use the strongest you can manage hammer-ons and pull-offs to continue moving that note up and down the fretboard. So do your best to mute the other strings as much as you can, but yeah, it sounds very cool and yeah, a very odd sound. A good way to break up your solo if you've got too many clean, nice notes happening in one place. Okay, the final trick I want to talk about is called the lizard down the throat, and it's a very Joe Satriani sort of 80s guitar trick. Very weird sound. What you do is you fret a note, so say 2nd fret on the G string, so an A, and then slide that note up the guitar fretboard, let's say to an octave, and then push down on the tremolo at the same time, and you try and keep the pitch constant. So the rising slide is counteracted by the pushing down of the tremolo, and you get this weird sound like this. The idea being that it sounds something like swallowing a lizard. I have also heard it called the wizard down the throat, although if you Google that at the moment you get exactly one hit, so I think that may have been a typo. Okay, those are all my shameless guitar tricks. I think they're a lot of fun. The only thing left to do now is to play a solo that uses all of them. So I'm going to get my headphones on and start my backing track, and let's play it. Okay, those are my favourite guitar tricks. If you want a copy of this backing track, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can play along to it as well. And if you make something with new interesting guitar sounds, please send me a link or leave a link in the comments somehow, because I'd like to hear what you come up with. If you found this video useful, then please hit the like button, and you can help me out by subscribing to my channel as well. Okay, see you next time.